of the purport. So in this verse, it is talking about how one should culture the knowledge of material things and knowledge of spiritual things simultaneously. The purport. So in this verse, so that we can cross the ocean of birth and death. So we may need some material knowledge, right? How to live in this world and things like that. And then the goal is to go beyond this material world. Goal is to go to the spiritual world. So we were also saying that the process of nations means also those things that are not favorable for devotional service. We should know. So that they say we have to be Krishna conscious and also Maya cautious. So both anukulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya varjanam. Like that also you can take it. So we are in the middle here. And we'll read a little bit and then discuss. There is a flow to this thing, the purport. There are 14 paragraphs in this. This is the longest, one of the longest verses in the Isopanishad, purport-wise. And, we'll figure out the flow later on. But right now we're just reading the purport. Human activities diseased by a tendency towards sense gratification have been regulated in the Vedas under the principles of salvation. So we all desire, conditioned soul desires sense gratification. So the Vedas know this, that conditioned soul cannot come to the platform of complete renunciation immediately. So there are ways in which one can engage in sense gratification under, regulative, in a regulated way. So human activities diseased by a tendency towards sense gratification have been regulated in the Vedas under the principles of salvation. So like, for instance, can somebody give me an example where our tendency for sense gratification can be regulated?
Like eating Krishna Prasadam, so in that way, tongue can be regulated.
Correct.
And then marriage also.
Correct.
Vedic marriage.
Yes. Like that. So, and other things also. There's also, if somebody wants to eat meat, there's also some regulations on how you should eat meat. Of course, devotees don't do that, but so there is regulation. So it has to be regulated because you can't give it up immediately. So there has to be a way to slowly give it up. That Vedas know this, our conditioning. This system employs religion, economic development, sense gratification, and salvation, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. But at the present moment, people have no interest in religion or salvation. Mostly people are interested in economic development, Prabhupada says. And no, they don't want dharma and moksha. They want artha and dharma, artha and kama only. So, but dharma can be used, like karma kanda can be used to get some economic development. Something, if you act piously, then you will get a lot of good things in your life. When you get good things in your life, you can enjoy. And then you become frustrated because sense gratification does not give the satisfaction. So then you look for moksha. But because you have gone through sense gratification, then you may come to that conclusion afterwards that, oh no, then you are like, okay. But if you have not gone through sense gratification, Daksha gave this argument to Narad Muni. Narad Muni, you made my children as brahmacharis, but they have not experienced the happiness of married life first. After that, maybe then you could go through this. First let them become frustrated by going through that experience. But that is not the right way to learn. To get into sense gratification and then become frustrated. And then, the real way to learn is learn by hearing, but everybody is not so intelligent to just accept that. So, so that is also there. So the Shastra, they know that, okay, everybody will not agree. So because we are conditioned souls. But at the present moment, people have no interest in religion or salvation. They have only one aim in life. So only calm and artha and calm, sense gratification. In order to achieve this end, they make plans for economic development. Misguided men think that religion should be maintained because it contributes to economic development, which is required for sense gratification. Dharma should contribute to artha. Then it is valuable. But Bhagavatam says, no, no, no. Dharma is meant for apavarga, for liberation. Dharmasya hi apavargasya nartho arthaya upakalpate narthasya dharme kantasya narthasya dharme kantasya kamo labha smitaha. It says, there is a verse in the Bhagavatam, right? The dharma is not meant for economic development. It is meant for ultimate liberation. To, of course, means meant for the Pancham Purusharth is prema pumartha mahan. So it is meant for, dharma is meant to actually, that dharma which does not awaken our attraction for Krishna is simply a waste of time. As Bhagavatam says, Swanustitasya dharmasya sansiddhi, no, dharma swanustita pumsam, dharma, there also the word dharma comes. Dharma swanustita pumsam visvakshena katha suya notpadaya yadi ratim shrama vahi kevalam. If dharma does not bring you closer to Krishna, then it is useless, dharma. So that's what Bhagavatam says, like that. But that is Bhagavad Dharma, but slowly and gradually. So misguided men think that religion should be maintained because it contributes to economic development, which is required for sense gratification. Thus, in order to guarantee further sense gratification after death in heaven, there is some system of religious observance. Yeah. So there is that verse also, right? That dharma, anyone whose work does not elevate him to religious life, and anyone whose religious ritualistic performance do not raise him to renunciation, and anyone situated in renunciation does not lead him to devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, must be considered dead, although he is breathing. Yeah. So, thus, in order to guarantee further sense gratification after death, in heaven there is some system of religious observance. So people want sense gratification not only in this life, but after death, because they know that there is next life. My next life should also be very nice. But this is not the purpose of religion. The path of religion is actually meant for self-realization. And economic development is required just to maintain the body in a sound, healthy condition. Which also Bhagavatam says, Kamasya nindriya pritir labho jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jigyasa nartho yasyeha karma bhi. Life's desire should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should only desire self-preservation or a healthy life, and nothing else but inquiring into the absolute truth should be the goal of one's work. So economic development is required, but only so much as is necessary so that we can live, we can keep healthy. So, and then fulfill the purpose of life. A man should lead a healthy life with a sound mind just to realize vidya, true knowledge, which is the aim of human life. This life is not meant for working like an ass or for culturing avidya for sense gratification. So here it says one should culture vidya and avidya like that simultaneously. And here Prabhupada says that this life is not meant for working like an ass or for culturing avidya for sense gratification. So we may need to know something about the material world to live in this material world like that. Because we are not completely dependent on Krishna and pure devotees. So we may need to learn some skill set like that to get a job like that. So with that is okay. But that is just to maintain a healthy life so that you can fulfill the purpose of human life. But if one is a pure devotee, he does not depend on anything. Krishna takes care of him. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhyuktanam yogakshemam vahamiham. So he's not, as we were discussing, he's not dependent on the ordinary course of activities. Because Krishna takes charge of him, and Krishna, because he's surrendered to Krishna, is directly doing Krishna's work. So Krishna will take care of him. So the path of Vidya is most perfectly presented in Srimad. So anybody has any, we read one paragraph, anybody has any comments on this that you would like to share? Okay. The path of Vidya is most perfectly presented in Srimad Bhagavatam, which directs a human being to utilize his life to inquire into the absolute truth. The absolute truth is realized step by step as Brahman, Paramatma, and finally Bhagavan, the personality of God. But if you know Bhagavan, then you automatically know Brahman and Paramatma. Although we say step by step, but we say Bhakti Yoga is an elevator. Right? Prabhupada says only like that. Bhakti Yoga is an elevator. You don't have to go to Ashtanga Yoga, and then in the yoga ladder, you have to go through, how does it start? Karma Kanda, then Karma Yoga. Then after Karma Yoga is
Jnana Yoga.
Jnana Yoga, then
Bhakti.
Ashtanga Yoga. So Jnana Yoga
Interesting.
leads to Brahman realization. Ashtanga Yoga leads to Paramatma realization. And Bhakti Yoga leads to Bhagavan realization. But you don't have to go through Jnana Yoga and then Ashtanga Yoga and then Karma, then Bhakti Yoga. You can directly come. Like we say, if you have $100 in your pocket, $1 and $10 are automatically included in that. So Bhagavan realization automatically includes, you understand that same Bhagavan has expanded as Paramatma in everybody's heart, and he's present everywhere as the Brahman. But the Prabhupada is quoting that verse that Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yad jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwaniti shabdate. That how the learned transcendentalists, they realize the absolute truth in three phases. The absolute truth is realized by the broad-minded man who has attained knowledge and detachment by following the 18 principles of Bhagavad Gita described in purport to mantra 10. You know those 18 principles? How does it start? It starts with amanitvam,
Amanitvam, yeah.
adambit.
Amanitvam, adhambitvam, ahimsa, shanti, arjivam, acharya pasanam, socham, stharyam, atma vinigraha. And indriya, yeah. Anahankara evacha, janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshan darshan.
Like that. So, okay, so those are the 18 principles. It starts with humility, pridelessness, non-violence, like that. The central purpose of these 18 principles is the attainment of transcendental devotional service to the personality of Godhead. So all these qualities, ultimately we say, is meant to bring us to Mai Chanani Yogena, Bhakti Ravya Picharini, is meant to bring us to unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. Therefore, all classes of men are encouraged to learn the art of devotional service to the Lord. Or you can say, by engaging in devotional service to the Lord, all the other qualities will develop. So that way also. So the guaranteed path to the aim of Vidya is described by Srila Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which we have presented in English as the Rector of Devotion. Now BBT is going to publish. This is a summary study, but they are actually going to publish the whole Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. It's on their list because Prabhupada has given a summary study in the Nectar of Devotion, but they're also going to publish the original work of Srila Rupa Goswami, that the detailed. The culture of Vidya is summarized in Srimad Bhagavatam 1 to 14 in the following words. This is the culture of Vidya. Tasmadekena manasa Bhagavan satvatam patihi Shrotavya kirtitavyasya Dheya pujyasya nityada. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of God, who is the protector of the devotees. Okay. So, yeah, we should come to ultimately become Krishna conscious. Unless religion, economic development, and sense gratification aim towards the attainment of devotional service to the Lord, they are all simply different forms of nations, as Sri Isopanishad indicates in the following mantras. So if dharma, artha, kama, moksha, and ultimately doesn't lead to devotional service of the Lord, then they are useless. They are different forms of nations. Okay. So that is that verse. So next verse we'll read. So what happens? Those who don't accept the supremacy of the Supreme Lord, and they worship the demigods, and those who are Mayavadis like that. Andham tama pravishanti. Pravishanti means enter into the darkness of ignorance. Tama is ignorance. Andha means blind. Ye sambhutim upasate. Ye asambhutim upasate. They worship asambhutim. Prabhupada is translated as demigods. Tato bhuya ivate tamo. And even more than that, those who are in ignorance. Ya u sambhuyutam rataha. Ya u sambhuyatam rataha. So what is that? Still more, those who are in darkness. Let's see what Prabhupada is translated. Those who are engaged in the worship of the demigods enter into the darkest region of ignorance. We would think, why would that be? Like, because demigods are also devotees, and so maybe Prabhupada has qualified that. And there are so many worshippers of demigods, like at least they are accepting some authority. It's better than atheist, right? They are worshipping that, okay, some person, there is somebody in charge, right? So, and still more do so, the worshippers of the impersonal absolute. And more than that is also, it's saying that worshippers of the impersonal absolute, they enter into the darkest region of ignorance. So what do you think? Why would that be? We'll see in the purport if Prabhupada is mentioned. The Sanskrit word asambhuti refers to those who have no independent existence. So asambhuti was used in this word. Asambhutim upasate. So demigods have no. Prabhupada translated as asambhutim as demigods because they have no independent existence. For that matter, nothing has independent existence. Every jiva is dependent on Krishna. Sambhuti is the absolute personality of Godhead, who is absolutely independent of everything. So Sambhuti and Asambhuti. Sambhuti is independence and Asambhuti is not independence. In the Bhagavad Gita 10.12, the absolute 10.2, the absolute personality of Godhead, Krishna, Shri Krishna states, Name vidu sura gana prabhavam na maharshayah ahamadirhi devanam maharshinam cha sarvasah. Neither the hosts of demigods nor the great sages know my origin or opulences, for in every respect I am the source of the demigods and sages. So demigods know about Krishna, they are devotees of Krishna, but they may not know him in full, that is one thing, and they are not pure, so they don't know. Krishna has not revealed fully his nature and his character to the demigods completely, because they want to be in partial illusion also, the demigods, right? They are considered as mixed devotees. So they know Krishna is Supreme Lord, but they are partially also not completely accepting that Krishna is the only enjoyer, because they also want to enjoy. So like Indra is a mixed devotee, and that's why he gets upset when something that was due to him he's not getting his share, so he's getting upset. But they are great, but we should respect the demigods. We should not, yeah, they are mixed devotees, but pure devotees are even higher than the demigods. But we should not like think, oh, I should not bow down to demigods. No, we can bow down. We can offer respect, folded hands like that, bow down. And from the demigods, you can ask also. They are powerful, so you ask for some benediction, which will increase your Krishna consciousness. So that way also you can, like we say that, yeah, of course, gopis worship Katyayani, but they say Katyayani was not actually Durga Devi. She was a form of some Purnamasi Yoga Maya, something like that. So, but you can worship the demigods for devotion to Krishna. Although Prabhupada did not institute it like that. That's why we don't celebrate many of the demigod festivals in our temple. So demigods are muyanti yat suraya. They are also bewildered by Krishna's illusory energy. So they are not completely pure-hearted, but they are great devotees. So that's why Krishna has given them big responsibility. And we say, Indrari Vyakulam Loke Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. Right? When enemies of Indra disturb the world, then Krishna advents. Indrari Vyakulam Loke Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. So if Indra was also a demon, then why would Krishna side with the demons, right? He's siding with Indra against the demons because he's a devotee. And he's a great devotee. So, but Krishna also uses him and he also forgets his position. So the pure devotee never forgets. So pure devotee is worship of pure devotee is even better than the worship of the demigods. So if you worship Srila Prabhupada, right, we have Guru Puja, that's very exalted, right? Because that's Lord Shiva says, worship of my devotee. Worship of Krishna's devotee is higher than worship of Krishna. Aradhna nam sarvesham Vishnu aradhnam param tasmat parataram devi tadyanam smarjanam. So we should we should worship the Acharya. Krishna says Acharya Upasanam. Acharya Upasanam, worship of the pure devotee Acharya. Acharya Mam Vijaniyam. You should consider the Acharya to be non-different from me. In the 11th canto, I think. This is the verse. Acharya Mam.
Next Black Friday sale. Enjoy up to 50% off site.
Acharya Mam Vijaniyan Navamanyeta Karhichit Namartya Buddhya Suyeta Sarva Devo Mayo Guruhu. One should know the Acharya as myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, thinking him an ordinary man, for he is the representative of all the demigods. Okay.
So Prabhuji, like Brahmaji was born from Lord Vishnu, right?
Yeah.
So he did tapasya and he could understand, right, that Lord is the supreme, right? And so, and sages also, like Vyasdev, his son, right? They all knew Lord, right? So this is like a general statement saying, don't worship them or they don't know me enough. right?
Means they know, but they can get sidetracked also.
Mhm.
Like they can come into illusion because they are not fully completely pure hearted. So when you are on the path of mixed devotion, there is always a chance that you can deviate, but then you can come back onto the path, right? So,
Mhm.
but pure devotees, they are different. So they know, I mean, because they're not fully surrendered, so Krishna has not revealed. Krishna says, I reveal myself fully
Mhm.
to those who are surrendered to me. So they know, but partially. Like they don't know maybe all the, like in Damodar Janni, when we are reading how the demigods are seeing that how Yashoda is binding Krishna, they are discussing
Mhm.
about how this is possible, and there's so many things. They don't know about, the Vraj Prem maybe. And
Like in Brahm Vimohan Leela, Brahma could not understand. Like this is Krishna, and that's why he tried to steal the calves and cows. And then he got to know he's Krishna, the Supreme Personality Godhead.
cows and the cowherd boy.
Cowherd boy, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is Vraj Prem, right? Krishna is eating jhuta from his friend's mouth. They are eating and they're feeding it to Krishna. That's why Brahma got bewildered. So, but of course, our Brahma is a pure devotee. Then he understood, and then he came as Haridas Thakur and all these things. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, go ahead. Anything else?
No problem. Thank you.
Okay. So until one becomes a pure devotee, there is always until you reach the stage of prem bhakti, there is always a chance of, like Bharat Maharaj also. He was on Bhav Bhakti, but he got sidetracked. So what to speak of us? So we should be praying to Krishna to protect. Prabhupada says like that, I am always praying to Krishna. So, and he said also that, my disciples are not sufficiently afraid of Maya, so that we may get into an illusory situation. So we should be afraid that I may get into some illusory situation and I may forget Krishna. So that's the danger. That's the danger that the devotee perceives, that, okay, I may become sidetracked from, because he knows the value of Krishna bhakti and all that. So he doesn't want to, so he's very careful like that. Like they say, one has to be Krishna conscious and Maya cautious. So thus Krishna is the origin of the powers delegated to the demigods, great sages and mystics. If you're on the Prema platform, then it's different, yeah, but until you're on the Prema platform. Yeah. And only to those who are unalloyed devotees, Krishna reveals Bhaktyastvananya Shakya Aham Evam Vido Arjuna Gyatum Drashtum Cha Tattvena Praveshtum Cha Parantapa. He says only one can understand me fully. That, like, this is talking about understanding. When one is unalloyed devotee, Bhaktyasva Ananya, it is possible, Shakya, when one becomes Bhaktyasva Ananya Shakya. That's why for ordinary people it's very difficult to understand Krishna, because they are not devotees of Krishna. And it's very difficult. Krishna is saying, Janma Karma Chame Divyam. This birth and activities of mine are very difficult to understand. But if one understands them in truth, then he will not enter into the cycle of birth and death. He'll come back to me. So, thus Krishna is the origin of the powers. First, to actually accept that God is a person is also sometimes very difficult, because we are now very narrowing down, right, to this one person who is God. So that is also, that's why impersonalists are also not able to accept that God is a person. So, or Mayavadis, they say Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. So they are not able to accept. Thus, Krishna is the origin of the powers delegated to demigods, great sages, and mystics. Although they are endowed with great powers, these powers are limited. The demigods are endowed with great powers. Thus, it is very difficult for them to know how Krishna himself appears by his own internal potency in the form of a man. Yeah. Many philosophers and great rishis or mystics try to distinguish the absolute from the relative by their tiny brain power. This can only help them reach the negative conception of absolute. So they said this is relative, this is relative, naiti, 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 naiti. This is not like that. So then how far they can reach? Only till the Brahman. Without realizing any positive trace of the absolute. Definition of the absolute by negation is not complete. So you can say, you can define something by saying it is not this, it is not this, it is not this, it is not this. So like if you want to define something, a book, let's say, what is a book? Say it is not a table, it is not a chair, it is not a computer, it is not a pen. But then what it is actually, that one has to realize that what is the positive. So such negative definition lead one to create a conception of one's own. Thus one imagines that the absolute must be formless and without qualities. It cannot have material form. It cannot have form because anything which has form is material. It cannot have qualities, so it's material. So like that you say no, it cannot have this, it cannot have this. Such negative qualities are simply the reversals of relative material qualities and are therefore also relative. By conceiving of the absolute in this way, one can at the utmost reach the impersonal effulgence of God, known as Brahman. So you can come to this, okay, the all-pervading energy. But one cannot make further progress to Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. So Naiti cannot take you to Bhagavan realization. If you want to know Bhagavan, you have to approach a Bhakta. Only through Bhakta you can understand Bhagavan. What is that we say? Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoy Sadhu Sangha. Krishna Prema Janme Teho Puna Mukhya Anga. Yeah. So without approaching a pure devotee, like we came to know all these things, right? We were like in India, we knew about Krishna, but we didn't know until we came in contact with Srila Prabhupada through his movement ISKCON, through his devotees, through his books. So now we know so much, right? So many devotees are speaking about Krishna and we hear, and they have heard from other devotees, right? From Srila Prabhupada and from other devotees, from other acharyas. They've read the books of acharyas, so they're talking about Krishna like that. They're explaining to us. So Guru means like one who makes Krishna come closer. Means you can understand Krishna better. You can understand Shastra better. You can understand philosophy better. You understand the message of Krishna better. That is the Guru. And Guru is compared to like what? We were giving the analogy. It's like a
Light.
Captain
on the ship.
of the ship.
And like a lens in a telescope. And that. So in a telescope, you have a distant object you cannot see. But if you have a lens in the telescope, makes a distant object come closer. So if a telescope has more lenses, then it has more magnifying power. So in the same way, all these different acharyas, Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and Srila Prabhupada, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, all these acharyas, they make Krishna come closer. So the more we access different acharyas in the parampara, they all reveal to us the nature of Krishna, his pastimes more and more, why things happen the way it happens. When Krishna lifts his hand, why did he do this? When Krishna was in the forest and there was a fire, then he asked all his Gopa friends to close their eyes. Close your eyes in the middle of forest fire. Why? Some acharyas say, well, what was the reason? Somebody knows. Why did Krishna ask the Gopas to close their eyes? Then, of course, he swallowed the forest fire.
That fire.
So I heard one acharya said that because previously Krishna ate dirt and they complained to Yashoda, oh, he ate dirt. Now if they saw Krishna swallowed the fire, then they would go and tell Yashoda, Yashoda, Krishna has taken all the fire inside his mouth. So they would complain. So he said, close your eyes. Some acharya has given commentary like that. So, of course, we have so many things like that. In Damodar Leela, why the milk was boiling and all these things, what the milk was thinking. And so different devotees have given different explanations about, like the Gopi Geet also, right? So many different acharyas have given different ways in which the words can be interpreted. So that gives more like inner meaning also sometimes to there's a direct meaning and then there can be so many other meanings which can be derived. But it is all the mercy of the acharyas that we can do all this. So such mental speculators do not know that the absolute personality of Godhead is Krishna, that the impersonal Brahman is the glaring effulgence of his transcendental body, or that the Paramatma, the super soul, is all his pervading plenary representation. Like sometimes they say in Kaliya pastime, right? Krishna went on top of Kaliya. And why was he in the coils of Kaliya for such a long time? Because, what do acharyas say?
Because he wants to wait. He wants a public audience
Yeah,
also. And one person is also saying that he was waiting for Radharani
he
to
wants all
come.
before he starts dancing. He wants everybody to be present, right? He wants an audience. Like we want also, like there's some show, any like actor, they want like a nice audience, right? Before they can perform. So Krishna, where is that desire? Of course, here it's a perverted, but that desire is in Krishna. Krishna wants, he wants to show to Radharani how expert dancer he is, so that Radharani will appreciate him more. So he's waiting. And also, of course, to increase the separation of his devotees. I mean, the loving intensity. The Krishna is there in the coils of Kaliya for about 2 hours, right? He was there, not doing anything. It was just like, and everybody was watching. So to increase the longing of his devotees, so he does all this. So we know all these things because maybe the acharyas have commented. At least I heard from devotees. So such mental speculators do not know that the absolute personality of God is Krishna. The impersonal Brahman is the glaring effulgence of his transcendental body. Brahmano hi pratishta aham. Or that the Paramatma, the super soul, is all pervading plenary representation. So Paramatma is the Shirodakshay Vishnu form. Nor do they know that the Krishna has his eternal form with its transcendent qualities of eternal bliss and knowledge. Yeah, so they don't know about Krishna's eternal form. Okay, the dependent demigods and great sages imperfectly considered him to be a powerful demigod, and they considered the Brahman effulgence to be the absolute truth. Some acharyas were when Hiranyakashipu was fighting with Nrsingadev, and Nrsingadev would sometimes let go of Hiranyakashipu from his grip. Demigods were watching, And one Maharaj was saying that some demigods were afraid because they were not completely, convinced that Nrsingadev would subdue Hiranyakashipu. So they were afraid. What will happen if we are all watching and we are cheering Nrsingadev maybe? And what happens if Nrsingadev is not able to kill Hiranyakashipu? Then what will happen? What will be our plight? So they were a little afraid. So they think that sometimes they think that he's more powerful than us, but not that he's the supreme personality of Godhead. Prabhupada says the dependent demigods and great sages imperfectly consider him to be a powerful demigod. And they consider Brahman effulgence to be the absolute truth. But the devotees of Krishna, by dint of their surrendering unto him in unalloyed devotion, can know that he is the absolute person and that everything emanates from him. So devotee knows Krishna can do anything. So one time they asked Prabhupada, can God create a stone that he cannot lift? It's a loaded question. Can God create a stone that he cannot lift? So if you say no, that means he can't do something. He cannot create a stone. If you say yes, then he also can't do something. So Prabhupada said, what? Yes, he can create a stone which he can't lift. Next moment he decides to lift it and he will lift it. So Prabhupada also, something like that he said. So there is nothing impossible for the Supreme Lord. He can bypass all the laws of material nature. Like in our life, we follow scientific laws, right? It's not like we don't have gas in our car and we say, I'm going to go 100 miles when I have no gas in the car. It won't work. But if Krishna can make everything happen, right? If Krishna wants, it can happen. But we have to follow scientific laws, but we follow these laws that are there. But if Krishna wants, he can drive a car without gas. And Krishna can do anything. That is the faith of a devotee. We should have the faith. Oh, Krishna can do anything. He's not bound by the scientific laws. Because sometimes we tend to think the scientific laws also, there's nothing about the laws. If it doesn't work for me, it will not work for any. But Krishna can make everything happen if he wants. So that is, Prabhupada would say like that he is floating these planets in space, like swabs of cotton. They are floating in space. How it is possible to have such big masses of planets, so much weight, and they're just moving so Krishna can do anything. Ram Bhagwan built the Setu, right? There was no architecture plan that, okay, there'll be columns, and to build a bridge, you need so many. There is design, and now the civil engineering, they were just throwing stones with Lord's name on it, and they were floating. Of course, some people try to explain in a scientific way that these were particular kind of stones, that's why they were floating and all that. But but that may or may not, but Krishna can do. If he wants, he can make it float. He can evaporate the whole ocean, right? He was angry. Ram Bhagwan was angry when ocean did not comply to his request. And he became angry and he pulled his arrow and the whole water started boiling. How can the water to boil little water in our home, we have to put it on the gas for so much long time and then it comes to a boiling point. And Lord Ram, just by glancing at the ocean in anger, the water was like boiling and all the aquatics were, there inside. So suffering. So then ocean, so how is it possible? So that's why we tend to think it is mythology. It is not possible. But because we have no experience like that. But God can do anything. He can change our karma. In one moment, if he decides, all our karma is gone, finished. Whatever you have done, ajamil, so many sinful activities. One moment, jagai matai, in one thing, everything gone. Everybody was surprised. Yamaraj was surprised. He wanted to see how is this Lord Chaitanya's mercy like this? No, nowhere before such mercy has been given like this? And he asked Chitragupt, what is the extent of the sins of Jagai Mother? Oh, we have files and files. We have a whole department, and the sins are coming so fast. Everybody is working overtime, and they are still not able to cope with it. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took this whole thing and just finished it. So this is the Lord can do anything. And we cannot question also. Oh, why did the Lord? Because it's Swarat. He is not answerable. Like sometimes we do something, we have to tell 5 people why we did like this, We have to answer to so many people. But Krishna decides he can do anything. It's Swarat. So that is how we should think of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, there is a verse how one should meditate upon the Lord. Kavim Puranam Anusashitaram. Right, that verse is there. 8.9. Kavim Puranam Anusashitaram Anoraniyam Sam Anusmaredya Sarvasya Dhataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest. This is the origin. Who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is inconceivable, and who is always a person, is luminous like the sun, and is transcendental beyond this material. And Krishna also says, what can I tell you about my power? I am unlimitedly powerful. And whatever you see in this world, yad yad vibhuti mat sattvam, Srimadurjitam eva, tat tat eva vagachatvam, mama tejo ansha sambhavam. It is just a spark of my splendor. What can I tell you about my power? So this is the Lord, right? So such devotees continuously render loving service unto Krishna, the fountainhead of everything. So more you know greatness of Krishna, more you will want to surrender to Krishna. And that's why Krishna says, if you know I am the source of everything, then such a person will surrender to me with all his heart. Prabhupada says we only need 18 people and 18 days in which we can conquer the whole world. If 18 people who are convinced that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then in 18 days, something like that, he said, in 18 days we can conquer the whole world. So, like we heard about, right? I think our Govardhan temple, Radhika was telling about how Asit Krishna Maharaj, he got a dream. If you've been to ISKCON Govardhan, it is a very small temple. And what happened? Asit Krishna Maharaj, he got a dream one day that we should expand the temple, right? We should make a big temple. And then he was thinking, but where will the money come from? Where will the money come from? And then what happened? There was one Chinese lady, right? The Chinese lady, she said, don't worry, I will give you all the money to expand. So it was like a miracle that happened. All of a sudden, he had this desire that we should make the temple big, and automatically everything. So Krishna can do anything. Many people were surprised how Prabhupada, coming with nothing, he started a whole whole big movement worth millions of dollars. So millions and millions of dollars, all this, and people working for him. So this is Krishna's magic. And people who never heard about Krishna, this is Krishna's magic. So when you surrender to Krishna, Krishna's magic happens, and so many things happen in our personal life, and we become empowered, and we can do so many things which we ordinarily can't do. So if we take shelter of Krishna, so many things can happen. Prahlad was a bigger yogi than Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu was a big yogi in one sense because he had a lot of mystic ability. And Prahlad, nothing was working on him. So it is said that one time Hiranyakashipu, was it Hiranyakashipu? Yeah. He was attacking Narad Muni. And he was throwing arrows and everything at Narad Muni. And all the arrows, because he was also with the demigods, so he was wanting to conquer. Or was it Ravana? Ravana was there, I think, one of them. And then all the arrows were getting absorbed in the body of Narad Muni. And then Hiranyakashipu made friendship with Narad Muni, because if you can't conquer, then you make friendship. And he asked Narad Muni, so how did you get this? He says, because I have a spiritual form and no material thing can actually injure my body, because I have. So how did you get this spiritual form? Oh, by devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I got a spiritual form. So then Hiranyakashipu also wanted immortality, right? You can actually get immortality by becoming Krishna conscious. He also wanted immortality, but he would not accept. They want the same thing. The devotee has achieved, but they don't want to accept the supremacy of the Lord. And they want to try to get it in their own way, which is not possible. So anyhow, in Bhagavad Gita, it is said that only unintelligent, bewildered persons, driven by a strong desire for sense gratification, worship the demigods for the temporary relief of temporary problems. Kamestastarita jnana prapadyantya anya devata tam niyamamastaya prakrita niyata swaya. Krishna says those whose hearts have been stolen by material desires, they go to worship the demigods. So that's 720, and 723 is 723. Antavattu phalam tesham tadbhavatyalpamedasham devan devo yajvanti madbhaktayanti mamapi. Okay, so those whose demigods can give only results which are temporary and limited. Antavattu phalam tesham tadbhavatya alpam, and those who are less intelligent, they go to demigods. Since the living being is, because they are not liberated themselves, so they cannot give you liberation. So why go to such a person instead of, and whatever they are able to give you is coming from Krishna. So why go to demigods? Krishna is making this point. Maeva vihitan hitan. Everything demigods are giving is coming from me. So why you are going to demigods? And that's why he calls them less intelligent. Since the living being is materially entangled, he has to be relieved from material bondage entirely to attain permanent relief on the spiritual plane. If we really want to be completely free from anxiety, he has to come to the spiritual plane where eternal bliss, life, and knowledge exists. As long as there is the slightest tinge of material desire, Prabhupada writes in some place, peace will remain far, far away. There'll be no happiness. Even Indra, he is in anxiety. Everybody is in anxiety in this material world. It's kuntha. And then Prahlad Maharaj also says, Tat sadhumanye suravarya dehinam sada samudvigna dhyam asatgrahat hitvatmapatam grihamandakupam vanam gato yadharim ashrayet. You are always in anxiety, my dear father. Sada samudvigna dhyam asatgrahat. Because everything is temporary and you are holding on to temporary things. So it's always, so unless you come to the spiritual plane, spiritual consciousness, there'll be always anxiety. And that is this characteristic of this material world. Sri Isopanishad therefore instructs that we should not seek temporary relief of our difficulties by worshipping the dependent demigods. Who can bestow only temporary benefit. Rather, we must worship the absolute personality of God, Krishna, who is all attractive and who can bestow upon us complete freedom from material bondage by taking us back home, back to Godhead. So, Yanti Deva Vrata Devan, that's also Prabhupada is saying, that those who worship Devatas, they go to Devatas. Yanti Deva Vrata Devan, Pitrinanti, Pitrin Vrataha, Bhutani Yanti Bhutejya, Yanti Madhyajino Pimam. Instead, in Bhagavad Gita, that the worshippers of demigods can go to planets of demigods. The moon worshippers can go to the moon, the sun worshippers to the sun. Modern scientists are now venturing to the moon with the help of rockets, but this is not really a new attempt. With their advanced consciousness, human beings are naturally inclined to travel in outer space and to reach other planets either by spaceships, mystic powers, or demigod worship. So now with scientific invention, what the yogis could do with their mystic abilities by pleasing the higher authorities, they could get mystic powers. They could also fly, right? Now scientifically, by studying the laws of nature, and we have made an airplane by which 300 people can fly simultaneously. So in the air, right? So we are going to India and all this. But yogis could do that also without any airplane. But if the idea is to control, and it is simply a distraction, then as Kolavech Sridhar, right, that banana seller to whom Nimai would come, and later on when he came to know that Nimai showed his form as the Supreme Lord and told Kolavech Sridhar, ask for any benediction. I will give you 8 mystic perfection. Ask. And Kolavech Sridhar said, no, no, my dear Lord, that will be simply a distraction for me. Because you get mystic powers, then what will happen? Everybody will be like after you. Just like imagine you can walk on water. Tomorrow you'll be on all the magazines and tabloids and everywhere, newspapers. Oh, this person can do amazing things. So you get mystic power. But then what will happen? Because you are getting so much praise, then you will not be able to, you will start thinking that you are God. Or you want followers and so many things. So then that's why praise is dangerous for a devotee. Because when you get praise, then you can get sidetracked. As in Chaitanya Leela, we know Vasudev, the leper, who was cured by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's embrace, and he got a beautiful golden body. He was very much worried now. Why he was worried? Because he was in anxiety. Why? Because he was thinking everybody will come and praise me, and then I will become proud. I'll become proud and then I will forget you. So he was very much worried. And Mahaprabhu said, no, no, chant Hare Krishna constantly and preach about Krishna consciousness. Then you'll not be proud. So praise is dangerous, right? Because if we get praise and we become like, so demigods, they also, when they get praise, they become very, very like, puffed up. Like Indra, even Brihaspati came, he did not get up because he became so much like, so many people are praising him, they are singing. Sometimes the kings get up, they say, by hearing their glories. The first thing they wake up, they hear all the people are chanting their glories and how great things they have done. So naturally, you can become puffed up by this. So in the Vedic scriptures, it is said that one can reach other planets by any one of these 3 ways. So they say, fame, if you run after fame, then fame runs away from you. But if you run away from fame, then fame runs after you. There is some saying like that, that it is an unmarried girl. So like that, fame is described, something, there's an analogy given. So Madhvendra Puri, for instance, he didn't want any name and fame. So he was running away. He ran away from that Khirch or Gopinath, right? Because he thought tomorrow morning everybody will come and say, oh, this is the devotee for whom Gopinath stole a pot of sweet rice. Oh, he's such a great devotee. So he just left the place. But when he went to Jagannath Puri, then everybody knew about him. Oh, this is that somehow Krishna wants to make his devotee famous, right? Ebe Jasha Gushuk Tribhuvan. The devotee sincerely desires to make Krishna famous, and Krishna wants to make his devotee famous. So that is what happens. So we'll end with this. But the most common way is by worshipping the demigod presiding over a particular planet, how to reach. In this way, one can reach the moon planet, the sun planet, and even Brahmalok, the topmost planet in the universe. Okay. However, all planets in the material universe are temporary residences. The only permanent planets are the Vaikuntha Lokas. These are found in the spiritual sky, where the personality of Godhead himself predominates. As Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita 8:16, Ha Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Arjuna Mamupitya tu Kantya Punarjanmana Vidyate. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death takes place. One who attains my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. So even from a material point of view, if you want complete happiness, don't go to any other place which will only give you some temporary pleasure. Go to this. That's why Krishna is saying, he's contrasting the material world and the spiritual world. So he's speaking this, that no matter where you go, you still you'll not find happiness. Okay. So we will stop here. Anybody has any comments?
Prabhuji, I had one question, Prabhuji, regarding that worshippers of like moon, demigods, all those things. Like here, like Prabhupada explains that
Your voice is
three
breaking.
things we
Is
can
it
go
breaking for
to
me
the
or everybody? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Will you able to hear my voice now?
Now it's better, yeah.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Like I have some question regarding that reaching of other planets by three ways, like spaceships, mystic powers, and demigod worship. So my question here is, so this mystic powers and demigod worship, we can able to reach to the other planets in after leaving this present material body or in this present material body, Prabhuji. So my understanding is like after leaving this material body, that's what I understood, but I don't know whether that is right or wrong, Prabhuji.
No, you can reach other planets, even in this body. Like the yogis can
Okay.
go, they can travel. Like Durvasa Muni, for instance, he can travel anywhere. He has that. When then Sudarshan Chakra was chasing Durvasa Muni, right? He went to Brahmalok, he went to different planets. Amrish Maharaj was in Vrindavan, right? He was in one of the forests of Vrindavan. He was doing his tapasya. So you can go if you have the ability. Yogis can go. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. Anything else anybody like to say? Okay. Nobody. Yeah, go ahead.
No, when you were talking about that Krishna's Swarat nature, the independent nature, few things come in my mind that even the pastime that where Krishna was in the Mathura, and in overnight he created like Dwarka, and everybody was transferred over there. So Krishna can do anything. It's just like he can controls the time, he can change the karma, he can change anything, he can do that. And we have examples at many places Krishna does that. And we cannot understand because of course, we have limited intelligence and mental speculators. Even Brahma in his prayer says that one cannot understand Krishna by speculation. One can understand only through the devotional service. And if Krishna chooses, if he gives his mercy, then one can understand Krishna. And we have an analogy, right? Frog in the well, right? That we haven't seen that Krishna is like an ocean. We cannot understand, we cannot measure the depth and width of the ocean. So we cannot measure with our limited understanding because we haven't seen. We are not out of that well. Our situation is like a frog. Yeah. And of course, but I like that point that you mentioned, that how the pure devotees have a strong faith that Krishna can do anything, right? We have a story also, the banyan tree and Brahmana's story. When Narad Muni asked to that Brahmana and the cobbler. So cobbler has a faith that if and of course you already told that story before also. So from a tiny seed, huge banyan tree come up, then Krishna can do anything. It's just about our faith, placing our faith in Krishna, that yeah. And that's what the pure devotees does, and that's why they can understand.
Correct. Yes. So like we look at the universe and there are so many planets. Where did all this come from? How did this manifest? So we can say, oh, this whole universe, Krishna created so many planets. What is impossible for a person who has created such a huge universe, right? Which we cannot measure the boundaries of. And also our body, right? Our body also, like every little thing, our eye, so complex, right? Krishna created this eye. And no man can create an eye, right? Somebody's, so that is the thing. So one time Prabhupada says, don't, goal is to surrender to Krishna, not to fully comprehend him with limited material senses. Uh, as his divine nature is beyond material understanding. So we have to surrender. We can just, because we can't understand Krishna's, how great, what his power is, right? So, okay. And then, of course, his sweetness is another aspect. So, although he's great, but he's very sweet, which is the 10th canto. Till 9 cantos, it's all greatness. And then 10th canto is the sweetness of Krishna. But you cannot appreciate the sweetness if you don't understand the greatness. So, okay. But then we say to understand sweetness, we have to forget the greatness. Right? Ultimately, to become, what is that? In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said, right? Everybody worships me in love and devotion. Mora Putra.
Yeah, Mora Putra, Mora Putra, Mora Sakha, Mora Putra, Mora Pranapati.
Hey,
इस
Bhave.
भावे से करे शुद्ध भक्ति अपना के
Amane.
या
के बड़ा माने अमार समानहीन
समहीन या
सही भावे होय अमित ताहार अधीन.
right.
So, yeah. Okay, so that is his sweetness. He wants to be subordinate to his devotees. He doesn't have to be, but he's like, he likes it. Okay, so we will continue. If there
Hare
is,
Krishna. I have
yeah.
a question. For
Hmm.
Monday, the recitation of Gita, do we know what time we are going to do it?
We'll do at 9 o'clock.
9 a.m.?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have to be all the time if you want work and things like that. I know it's a working day, but if you want to do one chapter and then I will also see how many will join. We'll put a Zoom link. We'll read, I mean, last time we were reading 10 verses or something like that. Everybody will read 10 verses, or we can read one chapter. But people have to be a little quick because otherwise it'll take a lot of time. So we have to recite the Sanskrit and the translation.
So how long does it take if you are, have you done
Generally,
it?
it takes about 5 hours, 6 hours, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll stop here then. Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
Prabhuji. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.